If you're working with young children and don't fully understand autism, you could be misinterpreting behaviors and missing opportunities to really support the child. Hi, I'm Monica Matthews Smith, pediatric occupational therapist with over 22 years working with children with autism and early education, as well as 16 years in the school district. And I help daycare workers as well as early childhood educators confidently and effectively support children with autism. In this video, I'm going to break down what autism really is in a simple, practical way. So let's start with the foundation. Autism is a spectrum. We have a saying that if you have seen one child with autism, you have seen one child with autism, meaning that there are many different abilities and different levels of support needed based upon where that child is on the autism spectrum. Children who are on the lower levels of autism may have more difficulty with speech, cognition, and functional behavior versus if you have a child who is maybe on the higher end of the spectrum, they might appear to be a typically developing neurodiverse child, just maybe with a few needs. Maybe they might have some organizational concerns or just they might need support in another area, but it would be very minimal. So this leads me into point number 2. Children with autism may have some communication differences, meaning that you might see some children who have either delayed speech or they are nonverbal. If there's a child who is nonverbal, they might communicate by gesturing, by pulling your hand or taking the staff person to whatever it is that they are requesting. And they might even produce some sounds from their mouth, but they're not able to speak. Whereas you might have children who are 2, 3, 4, 5 and older who have not yet developed their speaking skills and their communication skills, but as they continue to grow and develop, that speech might come. Okay, so just know that a child with autism can have differences in communication, and it can look different than a neurodiverse or neurotypical child. Also keep in mind that if you have a child who has lots of behaviors and maybe they are not able to speak, maybe they're nonverbal or they are delayed, then oftentimes their behaviors are a form of their communication, right? Because they are trying to communicate either a want, a need, something that's bothering them, something that they do not want to have or to do. And since they are not able to verbally express that, it might oftentimes come out in the form of behavior. Just keep in mind that behavior is communication. Number 3, you might see some social differences in a child with autism. Okay, so that could look like a lack of peer interaction. So maybe they are not interacting with other students in the daycare or in the classroom. They're not wanting to engage in the same activities with them. They might prefer to play on their own, like they're off in their own world all the time. And also, if you put them with a small group of children, they might display parallel play or playing alongside other children, but not necessarily engaging and playing with those students. You might also see a lack of eye contact. If you're talking with them, they might look down, look around, but lack that direct eye contact. And it is not necessarily them being disinterested in what it is that other people have going on, or they're not interested in making friends. It's a difference in connection. Number 4, you might see a child with autism engage in what we call repetitive behaviors and also have a need for routine. This could look like engaging in repetitive movements with their body. Maybe they like to just flick or spin things over and over again, turning on and off lights, on and off again, flushing the toilet continuously. You might also see them lining up objects. So it could be toys, it could be objects like blocks or trains or cars or anything that they're just lining up. It could be household utensils. If they seem like they have to put things in a certain manner each and every time, and that it has to line up just so, then that can be one of the signs of autism. Also, children with autism are resistance to change. So those transitional periods between activities, switching environments, even switching between staff members can be difficult. And again, everything is on a spectrum. So it just depends on where that child is on that autism spectrum will depend on how much support they would need with these things. Remember also that routines create safety and predictability with children with autism. When they are in unstructured and chaotic, just unpredictable environments, that's where you can expect more behaviors and more anxiety. Number 5, sensory processing differences. So a child with autism might have some dysregulation with their sensory system. So what is a sensory system? I won't go into great detail in this video. I will in another video just to help you understand more of what the foundational system is and what dysregulation looks like. But for now, just understand that children with autism might have some sensory processing concerns. So this could look like being sensitive to noise, to visual items, to textures, to touch, even to food. So if you see a child who seems to be overwhelmed or having a very hard time, maybe they're having meltdowns, they're crying in busy environments, if it's noisy in the room, or if you guys go out on field trips and they're just having a hard time, they're covering their ears, this might be a sign that they're having a sensory overload. It needs to be addressed. What might feel normal to us can feel very overwhelming to a child with autism. So here's a bonus one, number 6. Just keep in mind that if you see a child with any of these concerns, whether they are diagnosed with autism or they are just suspected to have autism, understand that early identification will lead to the greatest support. Just like anything, early detection is the key. And the early childhood years from 0 to about 8 years old are the most critical for development. Typically, a child is not diagnosed with autism until about 2.5 years old. So you can have delays prior to that, but after about 2 years old, if you're really seeing these, then that is a reason to document first and then be sure that you're telling the parent so that they can speak with their healthcare provider and potentially get further testing if needed. The earlier we understand, the better we can support. Also, there are services for children who have autism in this early educational stage. There's early intervention, there is ECI, early childhood intervention, there's birth to 3 services. So there are services that if a child is identified early enough, they can begin to receive the support at that stage that can then impact the rest of their life. So remember, early identification is the key. If you suspect something, say something. So if you're ready to confidently support children with autism in your daycare center or your classroom, then check out the Autism Readiness Training and Certification. The link is in the description below. For more information on how to support children with autism in your classroom or daycare center, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and then also put in the comment below what is one behavior that you've seen in your classroom or daycare center that now you understand differently. Until next time, bye.